So there's another article here. This one is from The Hill. It's also about Elizabeth Warren, and it details the support that she's potentially gonna be getting from Hillary Clinton supporters, obviously, who backed her heavily in 2016 and probably still love her to this day. So this article is titled "Clinton Allies Open to Backing Warren for President in 2020." It says allies of Hillary, and this is an article from The Hill, by the way. So if you want to check it out, I'll be putting in my description in the description box below. It says allies of Hillary Clinton say they could see themselves supporting Senator Elizabeth Warren for president in 2020, even as she rails against Wall Street and pulls Democrats away from some of Clinton's more centrist positions. If Warren decides to run for president, she will find support both from Hillary diehards who still want to elect a qualified woman as president, and from Hillary skeptics who want an unflinching champion against corporate greed as the party's standard bearer, said Seth Brinkman, a Clinton ally who served as a spokesman for the Ready for Hillary super PAC. In the 2016 primaries split the Democratic Party, with the liberal grassroots rallying to the candidacy of Senator Bernie Sanders. The division in the party has never healed, with both camps pointing the finger for Clinton's election loss to Donald Trump. But some see Warren, 68, as a liberal who can bridge the divide. For one thing, they say Warren endorsed Hillary Clinton wholeheartedly and then campaigned alongside her. By the way, Bernie Sanders campaigned alongside her too. If you want to say he didn't wholeheartedly do it, I mean, that depends what your definition of that is. But the fact that he did like 40 campaign events for her, he did 41 campaign events for her, I would say that's pretty wholeheartedly. I mean, if you want to say that he didn't, endorse her like right away, right as the primaries ended in June, that's okay, fine. That's not wholeheartedly, but he still managed to get, he still did that to get a lot of his policies, implemented into the DNC platform, which supposedly Hillary Clinton was going to push for. I don't know if that's actually true, but, and I didn't really see her pushing for it. I mean, yes, she kind of pushed for it, I guess, in a way when she was running, but in a very kind of milquetoast way. But if she was president, there's no way she would have pushed for the policies that Bernie Sanders did. No way. It says here, let's see. So it's quoting one of the Clinton allies. It says, she won many of us over not only with her endorsement of Hillary in 2016, but with the sincerity of it, said Adam Parkhamenko, a longtime Clinton ally. He added that Warren is also a registered Democrat, while Bernie Sanders is not. Okay. Some say Clinton even came close to choosing Warren as her vice presidential nominee in 2016 in a bid to excite progressives. And even though, when in reality she ended up going with Tim Kaine, which was a horrible option considering the fact that he's a horrible centrist Democrat, a white man, and a Catholic who's flip-flopped on the issue of abortion, just like what's his name, just like Joe Biden. So very convenient and shitty pick there by Hillary Clinton, not surprisingly. It says, but ultimately it was a little bit out of her comfort zone, said one former Clinton aide. I think there's no doubt she has the utmost respect for Warren, though, and she obviously thinks she's well qualified. While Clinton allies sing her praises now, Warren was slow to make an endorsement in the 2016 primaries. For months, she remained the only Democratic woman in the Senate who hadn't endorsed Clinton, despite the pleading of her colleagues. She also took criticism from the left, with activists arguing Warren had betrayed progressives by not giving her support to Sanders. Yeah, that's what a lot of us said. So I didn't realize that she was getting criticism from her colleagues, who were obviously Clinton supporters. She says Warren did not back Clinton until June of 2016, when it was clear that she would win the nomination. But Warren dove headfirst into the role of Clinton's surrogate, helping to raise her profile ahead of what many expect will be a presidential run in 2020. Yeah, that's really what it was about. It was about the fact that Elizabeth Warren wanted to make sure that she was, she wanted to get the support of the Clinton voters and supporters and surrogates and stuff. So obviously she went and supported her because she wanted to get their support. Whereas Bernie Sanders doesn't care about getting the support of Clinton's, centrist supporters who are just, they're just looking for a female woman who's going to be, warmongering and pushing for shitty policies that, the likes of many Republicans would be pushing for, but just putting just being a woman instead and just smiling and giving, nice speeches and flowery rhetoric, basically. So that's what Hillary Clinton was. She was just a right-wing, Democrat with flowery rhetoric and not sounding like an insane asshole like Trump is. It says the Massachusetts Center has been a top contender in recent polls. A Suffolk University survey out last month found that Warren was the most popular potential 2020 candidate in New Hampshire, taking 25.7% support. Former Vice President Joe Biden came in second with 20% support, while Sanders came in third with 12.5% support, despite having won the state in 2016. What state was that? New Hampshire? Yeah. Still, even some progressives wonder if Warren can win over centrists, particularly because of her tough rhetoric on Wall Street. Since the financial meltdown in 2008, the senator has been a particularly outspoken critic of the banking industry. During the 2016 race, some donors warned Clinton that they would stop filling her campaign coffers if she put Warren on the ticket. Nomiki Konst, a progressive activist, said while she could see some Democrats supporting Warren in the hopes of electing the first woman president, it's going to require some real strategy to bring some of her supporters over. Warren would face other obstacles to the nomination, including another presidential bid by Sanders. If Warren and Sanders both run, they could split the liberal vote, dooming their chances. It says Basil Smikle, a Democratic strategist who also worked for Clinton, also warned that Warren could lose a share of the black vote if Senator Kamala Harris or Cory Booker enter the race, which they have, obviously. That could make it difficult for her to win states like South Carolina and Florida. But the biggest threat to Warren, Smikle said, is the possibility of a Biden entering the race. When was this article from? Oh, wow, this is from 2018. I just realized that. I thought it was 2019. Okay, so that's a big deal, yeah. Well, the fact that they were talking about this in 2018, that's pretty noteworthy. I mean, it's very relevant to right now, for sure. Yeah, so this is from an article from, I thought it was from 2 weeks ago, but because it's June 15th today, this is from actually a year and 2 weeks ago, so. But no, it's still relevant to right now, though, so it definitely makes sense. Makes sense to a lot of the feelings that I'm sure a lot of people have right now. It says if Biden comes in, winning Clinton supporters becomes harder for Warren. Smikle, however you say his name. He shares more history and politics with Hillary's core support, and though he's been around a long time, he got a bid of a reboot as Obama's VP, so that may bring in some of the newer Obama voters. Still, in an election where Democrats will likely be spoiling for a fight against President Trump, Warren could have a leg up on the competition. More than almost any other candidate, Warren is able to fire up the liberal base, in part because of her ability to level pointed jabs against the president. In an interview with CNN's Jake Tapper in April, Warren called Trump's administration the most corrupt ever. The rest of it just details some things that she said against Trump. Says something about firing up the base, how Warren would fire up the base, but also argues specifics, and she's authentic in delivering the message. Says Clinton had a style and manner that struck many as elitist and scolding, and Warren could face many of the same problems given her background in academia. And then, the guy refers to her as being a Harvard professor and stuff. Yeah, I guess that could be possible, but I don't know. I think it just depends on how, if she were in a general election against Trump, it would depend on how people would frame it. How Trump would frame it, and how his surrogates and how people would hear him frame her as being an elitist type. Anyway, so yeah, I mean, so this says a lot about how the establishment feels. I don't know, because obviously they're just quoting a bunch of people that, basically work, used to work for Hillary Clinton. And this is all the way in 2018. I don't know if they feel the same way right now, but I mean, the fact that they were saying this back then is not that big of a surprise, considering the fact that she is getting higher up in the polls right now, and she is getting a lot more attention from the mainstream media, and she is, even though she is still pushing, we talked about in the last segment, she is pushing for policies that are, a little bit, maybe, I guess one could somewhat consider as being to the left, but, a lot of it is just kind of it's a lot of it is to appease appease progressives, but also appease centrists too. One of the policies that I read from I think it was the last segment, it was talking about how putting a 2%, so for every dollar above $50 million for 2%, I think, 2% tax for every dollar above $50 million for people that people that make $50 million. So my argument with that is, why don't you just make it under 10 million? People that make above $10 million. How about $5 million? How about $1 million in some cases? I mean, it's just the fact that you're going to be doing it above $50 million shows that you're listening way too much to your Democratic strategists and the people that work within the establishment and the people that that want to appease the establishment. And that's what I feel like, like I feel Elizabeth Warren is doing. I think she's just trying to do things that are going to get her enough votes to appease certain people that, that she knows that are gonna obviously hate her if she doesn't suck up to the establishment. In this case, she wants to suck up to the establishment just as much, and then obviously suck up to progressives just as much. But ultimately, that's not gonna work. It's not gonna work with progressives if you're not pushing for policies that are full progressive and full populist, and you're talking about how you're a capitalist, not a democratic socialist, and like I said, with that policy, you're trying to tax people above 50 million and above. I mean, we should have people out there that make $50 million? Are you crazy? I mean, that's ridiculous. $50 million is a lot of money. $10 million is a lot of money. So why are you doing it with $50 million? I mean, that just makes no sense if you're going out there and you're talking about how you're a progressive. And that's a kind of an aspect of how the progressive label has been hijacked. The progressive label has been terribly hijacked, and we've talked about this on other shows, but it's been terribly hijacked by these establishment figures, And my fear is, and I've had this fear for a long time, that Elizabeth Warren is one of those people that is hijacking. She is hijacking that label and is trying to use that narrative to benefit her, because she knows that she needs to get the votes so that she can obviously become president and become a favorite. And to her mentality is, just like the mentality of a lot of people in the establishment, the mentality is just to get elected so that you can get to a certain point and that you can, do the bidding of your donors. And in this case, and in the case of Elizabeth Warren, like I said, she's willing to take corporate donors, corporate donations in the general election, but not in the primary, which is very opportunistic, because if you're not taking it in one, because you're not taking it in the primary, because that a lot of the progressives and liberals and, surprisingly even some liberals, but especially among progressives and far leftists, they're not going to like the fact that you're taking money from corporate donors. So you're not going to do it then because you want to appease the progressives. But then when the general election happens, you're going to do that so-called general election pivot, and you're going to pivot to the right, and you're going to take all those corporate donors, and then you're going to end up doing favors for corporate, the kind of the corporatists and the people, the people that are in, that are working for corporate, companies, whether it's the banks, oil companies and all that stuff. She's going to want to appease those people too. So that's, in my eyes, that's her focus. Her focus is opportunism. Her focus is appeasing certain constituencies that, progressives don't want to have anything to do with, but she wants to appease those people because she sees it as like her best opportunity, I guess, to upend Donald Trump and beat him, when in reality you would be doing the same close to the same exact mistake as Hillary Clinton. Hillary Clinton obviously took corporate cash during the primary, so everyone knows that. So that's an obvious thing about Hillary Clinton that we all know. But the fact that you're kind of wanting to do that during the primaries, but then all of a sudden you're switching over during the general election is in my opinion, a big fuck you to the left. And a lot of people that's just one of the issues that people don't like about her. Just like I mentioned before, her record on foreign policy and not pushing for, being more hardline on, being against wars and stuff. Like, it's the fact that she's doing that it's amazing. Like, she's totally neglecting the far left and the progressives and all that, because she wants to appease the corporatists, and she wants to be able to get their donations in the general election. That same, those same corporate donors that she's willing to take during the general election, she's happy to take those donations as long as they're willing to give her money, right? Because she has to appease them by pushing certain neoliberal centrist policies, and then they'll be like, oh, okay, so now we can donate to her because we know she has a certain track record where she is pushing for policies that we want. And when it's against the progressives, that's, music to their ears too.